Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have some subscriber submissions to share with you. Before we get into them, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help. And guys, it matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Before we get into the upload, I'd like to share with you all some exciting news. I sent a text message out to our friend Victor, and he responded to me. I'm hoping that he and I can get together and talk and see how he's doing. He's still hanging in there. He's not doing better health-wise, but I'm hoping that he and I can just talk, and I will fill you in on what we talk about. But I kind of wanted to give you guys a little heads up on, hey, I reached out to Victor and he responded. I don't know what's going on with him besides that he's still ill. He's had a couple surgeries and lost a lot of weight, he said. But I'd really like to just kind of talk to him as a friend, also run some things by him that I've been thinking about, and just shoot the breeze with the guy. Miss him. So that's the update on Victor. Let's get into the upload. And today's first encounter. Mr. Nadolny, it was just another dreary fall day at work as a therapist when a longtime patient wanted to see me without an appointment. He just showed up at my office, which was not normal for this gentleman. My patient, 57-year-old avid hunter, sought counseling for situational issue, divorce, not for psychosis or delusions. He was not taking any mental health medication at the time, and I had a last-minute cancellation, so I was able to see him sooner than I expected. My patient was noticeably upset when he entered my office. We have built a good rapport with each other over the years, so I was a bit apprehensive to hear my patient's issue. My patient started by saying I thought it was a black bear. He started out by saying he was hunting in the Gallatin State Park. He was walking up to the top of a slope when he encountered a black bear. The bear was hunched over, with its back to my patient. My patient brought his rifle, a .30-06, to the ready because the bear appeared to be eating something. When he did this, the so-called bear turned its head and perked its ears up to my patient. The so-called bear rose to its hind legs. My patient paused for a few moments and tears ran down his face. His voice wavered like he was choking back more tears and said, "It was not a bear." I asked what it was and he said, "A werewolf." He said he thought he was going to be eaten. He was quickly weighing out the different scenarios in his mind, shooting it, but he didn't think it would stop a 7-foot, 400 to 500-pound werewolf. Running wasn't even a fleeting thought. The most prominent parts were its jaws and neck apart from its immense size. He said, the werewolf's neck and jaws were for tearing flesh and crushing bone. Then it picked up a deer and ran off. My patient stood there for a long time in shock. He still has no desire to hunt or to be in the woods at all. Backstory, my patient's encounter was in 2018 in Gallatin Park, close to Blair County, locally called Lake and Loop. I've included a map of the park to show the vastness of the park. Fast forward to 2020. I fell and was injured during the pandemic, and by sheer boredom caused me to research my patient's claim of seeing a werewolf, later finding out that they are called Dogmen. I've been weighing other encounters to my patient's encounter. Today's second subscriber submission. A little history about us. I'm a 51-year-old registered nurse. My husband is 57. We have 4 adult kids, one that lives at home with us. He is 25. My husband and I are very religious, more so in the past 8 years. I work full-time nights, so my husband and son are home by themselves 6 nights a week. My son is very protective of us, his parents, and our 2, now 1 cats that we adopted as kittens 6 years ago. I never was a cat person, but circumstances brought those cats into our lives when we needed them the most. We spoiled those cats. They were our babies. We live in the foothills of Denver, Colorado, and we have lived here for 22 years. When we got the kittens, we let them play outside, and they loved it. We would always bring them in at night, though, because we heard of coyotes in the area, and there was plenty of other wildlife as well in the area: bear, deer, elk, raccoon. And even though we'd never seen one, we know there are also mountain lions. About 3 years ago, we put up fencing around our backyard. It was called deer fencing. It's similar to safety fencing, a type of vinyl that is designed to keep deer out of your gardens. It's stronger than it sounds. It cannot be broken or torn by just pulling it apart with your bare hands. For the reason we put it up was to keep our cats contained. It was 7.5 feet tall, and it worked perfectly. Cats cannot climb it, and it keeps other animals out. We felt our cats were safe, and it gave them lots of space to be outside. The enclosed area was approximately 50 by 60 feet. There's a trampoline and a couple of trees. Our back doors are open to the enclosed area. We call it our backyard. It's a slight decline slope to it. My son and husband usually stay up late. It's not unusual for them to be up past midnight, and also not unusual to let the cats out when they are up. So, on this night, they were just hanging out like normal in the bedroom where the window also faces the backyard. The window was open and the cats were able to come and go using the window as their access in and out. The lights were on, but we don't have TV or radio, so my son usually watches news or videos on his phone before going to bed. He's very keen with security issues and has several cameras around the property. We live on 2.3 acres of land. On that night, a little past 11 p.m., our male cat was outside, and all of a sudden my husband and son heard a terrifying scream from either our cat or the thing that was attacking our cat, or both. My son grabbed his LED headband flashlight, which he always has within arm's reach, and put it on while racing to the back door. He had no idea what he was about to encounter. But he ran out screaming and flailing his arms like a wild man. He was screaming at this thing that was on 2 legs, which was initially visualized jumping up and down like a kangaroo on our cat. "What the hell are you doing?" The thing got our cat in its mouth, but proceeded to be up on 2 legs, and as my son, Joey, was approaching it, it was walking backwards from him. It got to the fence and tried to jump backwards out of a 7.5 foot tall deer fence, but it hit the post. It then dropped our cat. My husband was screaming to our son, "Get Whiskers, get Whiskers." My son was watching this thing curl up in a ball, in his words, rolled down the hill like a tire to the other side of the yard diagonally approximately 70 feet, and without making a sound was able to get over onto a 6-foot shed and then over an additional 6-foot said fencing. My son thinks it levitated. All this happened in about 20 to 30 seconds from start to finish. They called me at work in hysterics, saying our cat was attacked and dead. I assumed it was a mountain lion. I left my job and drove 20 minutes home. We cried and cried over our dead cat's body. He was the coolest cat. He was our baby. He brought something to our family when we needed it the most. He was truly a blessing from God. He was docile. He never scratched any of us. He had such a loving personality. We love and miss him. Well, from that very second I got home, my husband and son said the thing that killed Whiskers looked like a dog on 2 feet. My husband said that it looked like it was laughing as it was jumping up and down on our cat. My son said it looked like a werewolf. I was like, really? Not very believable. I was sure it must have been a mountain lion. But the more we talked about the incident, I started to research what else it could have been. And my husband and son insisted that it was no mountain lion. This may sound crazy, but I honestly believe that we were the target of Satan himself, and that thing was given direct orders to do this to our family. I'm not sure if you know the Bible, but it says in end times, which we are in now, God would lift his protection from the earth, and it would allow the devil to do more evil things upon the earth and people. I feel like this explains why there are more sightings of these things. And it does not surprise me that my family would be the target of this. We are also targeted individuals. And if you don't know what that means, I'd be happy to explain. Let me know. There was a recent news story about a sighting in Amarillo. My husband and son say that was the closest image they've seen to what killed our cat. Anyway, we wanted to run this by someone who has heard other experiences and ask your opinion. Well, I'm no expert, but it definitely sounded like a Dogman attack to me. The Amarillo sighting is a hoax in my eyes. I called the zoo. I called Amarillo's police department. None of them could verify or validate anything. It was from a video, yet they only have one picture. I don't believe it is real at all, 100%, and I would stake a lot on that claim. But back to this subscriber and what happened. It sounds like a Dogman that, took advantage of a, prime location to, terrorize a family. They enjoy terrorizing, and they're not friendly. I don't know if they're demons or not. I have my own theories, and people have their own theories, and everyone's entitled to their own theory. You definitely keep your fence up, and if you don't have firearms, I'd get some. Thank you for sharing this with us, too. Oh, and I'm terribly sorry for the loss of your pet. I wasn't being whatever, but I feel terrible because I love cats more so than dogs. Today's third subscriber submission. Hey Jeff, how are you? My experience happened, or two recent experience happened in the summer of 2012, right before I was pregnant with my son. It was around 2:30 in the morning or so. I was cleaning my apartment due to an insomnia episode. I lived in apartment 6, which is a small one-bedroom apartment on the second floor of a complex, also located right in front of the game/nature preserve. All the dogs in town and coyotes within 4-mile radius had been going crazy for at least an hour or two straight, which was odd, but I shrugged it off. I went to take the trash to the dumpster, which is located in the middle of the parking lot, and noticed that every dog in the neighborhood was now beginning to whimper and then went silent abruptly. Even the crickets and cicadas stopped their racket. And suddenly, I hear this god-awful howl that I can never properly describe, even if I tried. At my best, I can only say it was a deep, guttural, booming howl with a high pitch. I have only heard it twice in all of these years. I searched online in 2 different YouTube videos, one of which was taken down, had a woman walking her dog near a metal outbuilding, and the other by a man who had enhanced audio recording from a video called Mysterious Howling caught on video in the forest, and it was identical, but I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube or not. I've heard that howl one time since in person, but I'll get into that in a second. When I heard that howl, I froze dead in my tracks in the middle of the parking lot with my trash bags in hand, and the back of my neck hair felt like they were standing on end. I cannot describe the panic and terror I felt throughout my body. Again, it was insane. I felt like a metal taste in my mouth. My heart was hammering and my body went sort of stiff and rigid. It was like every sense in my body went full-scale heightened. I stood there feeling the urge to empty my bladder, and yet I stayed dead still and silent, listening. Its first howl was from about 3 football fields away, and as I stood there downwind in the parking lot, I smelled something light but foul drift my way. It howled again, and it was about 2 football fields away. Behind a complex at that point, and I bolted automatically before the third howl was heard. I heard the third howl as I rounded the landing of the second-floor stairs and took them 3 at a time, dropping my trash bag in the stairwell and bursting through my front door, slamming it and locking the deadbolt in place. I proceeded to grab my bat and hide, with white candles lit, praying nothing came through that door. I woke up at around 6 a.m. to daylight, and when I opened the front door, I caught the stench of wet dog and rotting meat, still lingering in the stairway. I didn't think much of it because the kids in the complex were playing outside. I didn't mention it for 4 to 5 months until I moved into the building adjacent while I was pregnant with my son. The neighbor lady, we'll just call her Jay, was talking to me about late night goings-on around the complex, neighbors partying, fighting, and I asked if she had heard anything strange at night that summer. She deadpanned and went white as a sheet and said, "You made it inside before it could get to your stairwell," and I got goosebumps all over. I kind of stammered, not sure if I could believe what she was saying, and tested her by asking, "What do you mean I made it inside?" And she straight up told me, as sober as a judge, that she had been watching from her living room window that night as I went to take my trash because she had heard a howl sitting in her armchair. She said she watched me bolt and drop the trash bag and make it inside, and then I asked her, "Well, what was it that you saw, because I have my suspicions about it." She told me she did not want to talk about it because she didn't want anyone thinking she was crazy, and I swore to her that I would never tell a soul with her. She came right out and called it a werewolf. I asked her to describe it, and she proceeded to describe the creature was around 7 feet tall, bipedal, grayish-black fur, pointed ears, and a muzzle that resembled a wolf's. She said it sniffed around my building, focusing on my stairwell for a good long while before snooping around other buildings and heading back off towards the nature reserve and its river. I have told this experience once since it happened, and was blocked by the administration without warning the moment I found a second YouTube video trying to post it in excitement as an update to show the group what I had heard that night because of the other video being taken down a couple years prior, and I haven't spoken of it till now. I lived in Beaver, Oklahoma for 12 years of my life and was born and raised in Oklahoma, never hearing that sound from any wildlife ever. And I've heard it all from coyotes to wolves, foxes to bears, etc. We loved our hunting and fishing here, so I know that it was not a normal animal. I moved to Tahlequah, Cherokee County, Oklahoma, not long after when my son was about 2. I ended up moving in a trailer park here where it's fairly quiet. Now I've never seen the Dogman, but fast forward, and I hear it once again in the summer of 2019. It was fairly thick fog, and right across from the privacy fence, a road, is a cattle field by a U-Haul rental barn not far from the city hospital. And I kid you not, I was having a cigarette on the front porch at around 1 in the morning after clearing the kitchen while my son was sleeping, and I froze dead solid hearing the same howl as I heard in Beaver, Oklahoma all those years before. I immediately dropped the cigarette and backed into my house via the front door, shutting it quietly and quickly bolting the lock in place. Crawled into bed with my son and prayed for morning to come as fast as it could. Those are my experiences. I'm a single mom of a special needs child and a little on edge when it comes to these creatures. I know Bigfoot is running around here as well in Cherokee County, but I'm not sure if he's a threat to my boy or not. Well, the woman also, I left out a couple of questions she had asked. She was asking, what should I do? And, I would just live your life. But be vigilant and keep an eye on your son, obviously. And, if they're that prominent around your area, maybe get some motion lights around your home. Buy another firearm just in case. Don't let your son out without you being there. I'm not really sure, if they're... I don't think they're targeting your son or you. Probably you were an opportunistic maybe scare or possible meal. Who knows? But, thank God that you were able to run back to your apartment that night. So, moving on. Today's fourth encounter. Dear Jeff, ever since mentioning my encounter in the comments, I have been persuaded to recount my encounter with the Dogman. I have to let you know, first of all, that ever since an accident over 11 years ago, I have been confined to a bed. I live in the county of Antrim in Northern Ireland. Here there are lots of fields, woods, and large forests. It's not called the Emerald Isle for nothing. This incident happened the last quarter of 2019. I was just about to settle down to sleep with my dog. She was on her bed next to me when the front door handle was apparently being operated like crazy. I thought to myself, now who in the hell is that? It only lasted about 15 seconds or so I didn't give it a second thought. No sooner had I started to relax and settle down to sleep again as when it started again, but much more aggressively. This time I shouted to whomever, "Who the F is at my door at this time of the morning?" Everything went dead quiet. Then came this constant light tapping on the door. I kept quiet at this. My dog at this point is hiding under my bed. Usually she would start barking like a wild thing if she was aware of anyone at the door, but weirdly, not this time. After it stopped and I again tried to settle down to sleep, I found it hard to relax though, because I had become very angry. Years ago, I used to be a coward, scared of my own shadow, so I decided to try and change. My mantra every day is, don't get scared, get angry. Well, it seems it worked. There was a loud bang, like a shoulder being put to a door and break it down. Thank goodness the door is a very thick and heavy door. When this started to happen, I realized about the front doorbell cam, so I opened the app to see who the idiot was trying to get into my house and get some video evidence, but I noticed the camera was not working. With being confined to a bed, I couldn't go see who it was. Then I thought of my blinds. It was a remote control, so I grabbed the controller only to discover that it was not working either. So by this point, I'm getting very upset. I shouted, "Who is that? Get out of here." Again, silence. As the silence went on, I kept wondering, what idiot was it? Soon I found out. I have a street lamp outside of my home. Just when I thought it was over, a large shadow crossed my window. Thanks to your channel, Jeff, I know exactly what I'm looking for. It was definitely a Dogman. It came right up to the window. It must have been pressing its face to it. I could see the obvious outline of ears. I could even see the shadow of tufts of hair. It started to take really deep breaths. It must have been trying to get my scent. I swear I have never heard such a loud inhaled breath in my life. And not just how loud it was, the length of those inhalations must have been 10 seconds easily. Then came the deep, rumbling growl that not only made the windows vibrate, my lungs and spine vibrated like I was in an 18-wheeler. Finally, that was it. I lay in my bed wondering what it was going to do next, but there was nothing. When my adrenaline stopped flowing and my temper subsided, it was then I realized the scope of what had happened. Then it was like everything was unplugged. Out I went. The next morning, my carers came in. They were all panicked. I don't know what was going on. Then they said about the state of my front door, deep gouges all over the door. But the thing that made me realize how close that thing was to getting in was the apparent crack down the door where the hinges were. I had to get the door replaced because of the damage. I am so mad that I didn't get one of the carers to take a picture of it before it was replaced. Then people I knew and some I didn't came calling, wanting to know what happened. I didn't want to be taken away by the man in white coats, as they say, so I told them that it was someone who was probably very drunk. And now I have a brand new, thin wooden door. So if the Dogman decides to come back, all he'll have to do is a huff and a puff and blow my door in. Thanks, TW, and I really appreciate you sending your encounter to us. I know that you've been in the comment section for a while now, and I did not know that you were bedridden and because of an accident. So, you know, my prayers go out to you, and hopefully the Dogman does not come back with your very thin door. And God bless, my friend. Tonight's final encounter. Jeff, I wanted to share this with you. I live in Michigan, and I used to be a professional driver for GM and Roush. I was on a driving route testing a small subcompact vehicle. I was traveling eastbound on I-96 in the spring of 2015. I remember seeing a sign saying Williamsburg. I'm not really sure the exit number it was, but it was dusk, and there was a semi-truck 100 feet or so ahead of me. When I noticed it swerved suddenly, now this truck was lit up with lights all over the bumper and trailer. So just after the truck swerved, something large and hairy stepped out into the freeway from left to right. And it only took 3 to 4 steps to cross the 2 lanes on the eastbound. The semi-truck's light illuminated the creature, but I could not make out the head very well, nor did I see a tail, but it was massive, and the legs looked really thick, and the body and arms looked large as well. I was so scared that my mouth went dry, and I remember slowing the vehicle down and dreading having to drive by that spot. The thoughts of messing with a Sasquatch commercial enters my mind because I wasn't sure if there were more than one. And I wouldn't want to accidentally hit one and make a large thing grab the little car I was in and throw it across the freeway. Believe me, the size of the creature could have very well done that with ease. As soon as I passed the spot, I stomped the gas pedal, looking behind me, trying to put as much distance as I could. After that, I gave up camping, and any time I happened to be on that route, I made sure it was quick to pass that area every time. Not sure which creature/cryptid I saw, but I know this thing was huge. Large enough to where I will never forget it. Thank you for allowing me to share my encounter. I no longer drive for those companies due to my deteriorating health conditions, but there were plenty of routes all over Michigan where these things could live without detection. God bless. I told you I had a good set of encounters from subs today for you, didn't I? I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as I enjoyed sharing them with you guys. Wow. I really love reading subscriber experiences because it almost makes it like I know you guys a little more, and that's why I feel like this channel is just kind of a family, we're the Dogman family, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So I hope you guys keep sending me your encounters, and hopefully you guys keep wanting to come on and get interviewed. So with that, my friends, stay safe, be well. May the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.